So this is a Columbia River sockeye salmon, swimming probably 24 hours ago, and we're gonna cedar bake it or cedar roast it. And this is a chunk of red cedar that we've soaked overnight, and we'll end up serving right from the board. And I'm basically just gonna open it up like a book and then tack it to the board with some steel nails. Try to maintain the head and the tail. Whenever I'm looking for fish, I'm looking for a clear eye, no fish smell. It should just smell fresh. We soak the cedar overnight, absorbs the moisture so it doesn't ignite while we're cooking, and it's also going to steam the fish as we're roasting it over the fire, so that all of the essential oils in the cedar will sort of perfume the fish. What's fun about having the whole fish on there, roasting it on the board, is we'll serve it right on this board so people can kind of pick at all the whole animal. And I'm basically just going to tack it to the board with some steel nails. We use steel rather than galvanized because galvanized can release chemicals as they're heated. I'm going to use a little bit of this sequoia. Kind of holds it as well as just adding a little bit more flavor. This is a traditional Pacific Northwest Native American way of baking fish. Scoop a little bit of coals underneath it to try to put a little bit of color. This is a really simple recipe of salt, smoke, fire, cedar, and really good fish. Hi.
I'm Mona Johnson.
And I'm Jaret Foster.
And together we make Tournant. What's so special about what we do is that we can literally take our kitchen anywhere. That means that we can set up on a mountaintop or by the sea or by a river or in a meadow. And that is really special because that means that we can take these elements of our surroundings and bring them to the plate.
All of our cooking, I think, is put through a lens of the Pacific Northwest cuisine with lots of farm to table and lots of great just respect for the ingredients. But we're inspired by the fire stories around the world where, you know, at any point where cooking has been done, at one point it was done over an open fire. This is a waller and root pork loin. I don't know if you can see, but there's just like this amazing fat cap on it, and it's still got the skin on. But I'm going to trim away some of that fat and then put the skin back on it. And we're trying to maintain the skin because it'll kind of protect the meat as we're cooking it. So this is pasture-raised pork raised on alfalfa. They're heirloom breeds, so they were bred for flavor. So they're bred for the intramuscular fat. They're bred for flavor rather than yield. We're going to rub this pork down. This is all just kosher salt. So we're seasoning the pork, then I'm going to rub it down with mustard and pistachio pesto. That'll be just kind of a marinade for it. This is kind of the fun part. We get to kind of put it back together. Tucking some rosemary into it and on it. So again, just trying to work many flavor and aromatics into it as we can. And these will kind of torch a little bit, put a little bit more smoke on it. And then we'll tie the roast and hang it over the fire for the next couple hours. When we're cooking, we're trying to get out of the way of well-sourced ingredients. We are just trying to get them from the farm to the plate with good technique, taking good care of them from the minute that they come into our possession to the time that they are, you know, reaching the people that are dining with us.
We're also doing our take on a French mussel dish called éclat de moule, and our Pacific Northwest version is to roast these mussels, which are from Totten Island Inlet in Washington. So we'll be throwing those over the flames with some rosemary and also some fresh pine boughs. The pine does something really special. When it burns, it releases like all of this smoke, it releases its essential oils, and so it really infuses the mussels with this like kind of deep woodsy, piney flavor that's really unique and special.
Mona lends her love of beauty to all of our food. I can tend to cook elementally and just lots of big flavors, lots of great textures. There's certainly a masculinity to it, and Mona will bring in a feminine aspect to it that elevates our cooking in a way that I couldn't do on my own. We're gonna start building pekka. There's this, this lovely cast iron dish, and then a dome that'll sit over it that we build fire on top of. The traditional pekka is a lamb pekka, and it's a family-style dish, maybe similar to a paella. I'm just doing a whole bone-in lamb shoulder. Got just a little bit of the rib here, a little bit of the spine, but there's just like a bunch of just, the flat meat in there. I'm just gonna work some salt into it.
For this pekka, we're trying to, kind of keep it simple because it's really about the flavors of the vegetables, a lot of heirloom varieties in there, 2 different types of Japanese turnips, and there's going to be lots of wine in there, so everything will steam and then start caramelizing and roasting after all the liquid burns off, and it's going to be so flavorful.
So we put this thick gauge steel dome and we piled coals on top of it, so we're actually getting heat from the top down on all those vegetables and lamb, as well as a low fire underneath it to get it simmering, to get everything up to a nice temperature. The only place I've ever seen these is in Croatia, in both the north in Istria as well as down the coast, which is called Dalmatia, and I had to have one. I've always been enchanted and in love with fire, but I think the most inspiring part of my childhood growing up in Montana was we would get out of town as soon as we could and go camping, and always building a fire and always cooking over the fire I was just like, I love that. So much fun, and it was an excuse to sort of get in there. It's looking good. We've got a little bit of roast from the top, not a lot because it's only been on for a minute.
So one of the dishes we're doing today is a take on a Spanish dish called escalivada, and it's basically an ash roasted vegetable salad. So we're taking all those wonderful vegetables, eggplant and peppers and tomatoes and onions, and we're roasting those over the ashes and in the coals until they get really blackened and charred on the outside, and then let those cool off, strip off all of the charred skins, and then use all of the luscious, unctuous vegetable within. It's totally blackened and charred, but then peeling it away, get to that really tender flesh inside. The transformative power of fire on a simple vegetable is always alchemy. It's always magic to us. So I think that's part of the thing that keeps us so engaged and excited about what we're doing, is that it's always interesting. It's new every time. I would say that the dish that is closest and nearest and dearest to my heart is escalivada. It's one of the dishes that Jaret made for me when he was trying to woo me, and obviously it worked.
So we're inspired by all of these global techniques, all of the ceremony around food, as well as some of the equipment, community gatherings, flavors, and put them through a Pacific Northwest lens.
So with our dinners, we really try to create a full experience, and we want people to be outside in nature, to interact with their surroundings, to really connect with each other, to be able to see us preparing the food over the fire. So we hope that people walk away with this real sense of place, they really get to taste the food on their plate. They get to experience a moment in time that's away from their normal lives, and they get to put their phone down for a minute and really be in the moment. Really being present is something that's so hard these days. So I hope that when people come to a meal of ours, they really get to connect with the food on their plate, to remember that it was grown or raised or fished or foraged with care, and to really appreciate all of the work that happened, from the farm to the fire to the plate.